This company's never been more profitable.
You mean hugely profitable?
I like it.
Dayporter.com presents The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship. The one podcast that's not afraid to discuss real sales strategies with real cleaning professionals that produce real profits and real results.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Profitable Cleaner podcast. I'm your host, James Harper. I'm super excited for today's episode. We have Chad Price here on the show today, not from a janitorial background, at least to my understanding, but from an entrepreneurial mindset, health and fitness background. Chad, thanks for joining the show, brother. Without me trying to butcher any introductions, why don't you introduce yourself and give us a little bit about your story?
Thanks for having me on. Very, very nice to meet you. I'm Chad Price. I kind of a serial entrepreneur. I'm currently own several different companies. My most notable company I'm going through an acquisitional period is Kettlebell Kings, which is a fitness brand, and it's basically something that we started about 10 years ago that is really centered around the kettlebell, but it's also just around building kind of online communities and direct to consumer operation.
Awesome, man. I love that. So let's take a few steps back here. Going through an acquisition, that's a big deal. How long you've been running your own gig, and kind of give me the background of Chad, like what propelled you into running your own business, and more specifically, man, what kind of propelled you into the lifestyle, health and fitness, the wellness category?
Well, I mean, so my background is kind of in sports and athletics. So, growing up, I pretty much played every sport under the sun. That kind of culminated in athletic scholarship to Rice University, where I played football there. So after kind of playing football there, really getting to see Houston, downtown Houston, just the networks that kind of Rice introduced you to, and just the living, as a young man in such a large city, you really get to kind of see all aspects of the world. So I kind of knew in college that I wanted to, either run some large operation or start my own operation. I've always kind of been a team captain type of player, or I was point guard on the basketball team. So, for me, it just always came natural to really try to bring teams together to achieve, bigger goals than you could, let's say, individually. I always wanted to be a part of something like that. After I graduated, I started working for several different small companies. My favorite was probably construction, where I was working for a small business owner in a construction company, and I was a project manager for him. And I was, at the time, the only project manager. So it was really like, I was a utility player. You do what you have to do to get everything done. And, things like that taught me a lot of how to run a small business, and kind of gave me the confidence to jump ship, let's say, from the corporate America to entrepreneurship. So after I started working in oil and gas and went down a corporate route after construction, just out of, necessity to try to get more money, I really realized that, no matter what corporate job I have, I'm not necessarily going to want to do that long term, and, just be jumping ship a bunch of different times, trying to, make a buck any way I can, versus really try to find something that I cared about and try to start my own thing and build my own team from scratch. So I met with a couple of my business partners, or a couple of my buddies at the time, who, became my business partners, and we committed to starting a company before we even knew what company it was going to be. We said we're doing this regardless, and here we are, 10 years later with the culmination of the acquisition.
Love that, man. And I think a lot of people listening right now could relate to that. So in the janitorial space, there's a lot of like utility players, like you said, and just realized, hey, there's more opportunity to be made doing it myself, and might not know exactly what we're doing day one, but we're going to figure it out. And here you are, day 10, like a lot of people listening, and have an operation, have a company. So I want to talk to you really about, mindset and just physical health for a minute. This is one of our core values at our company, Dayporter, are literally it's attention to physical and mental health. And we we embody that core value because we believe have the best version of your company, you have to be the best version of yourself. Man, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at your brand. I'm looking at the messaging that you put out there online, and it really aligns with what we talk about a lot on the show: attention to physical and mental health. When you hear those words, man, why is that important to you? And talk to me about what comes to mind.
I mean, I think it's just something that's probably been ingrained in me, since a child. My dad was pretty militant about physical health growing up, but it also came naturally to me. I was one of those kids that stayed outside and played all day and came inside only when my mom made me, type of deal. So it's always kind of been a part of my nature. As an adult and as I've gotten away from, let's say, competitive athletics, I really see it helping me just as part of my everyday kind of well-being. And I think that's what helps me build an online community so easy is I look at the kettlebell or I look at whatever I'm doing as a centerpiece so that, we can all have some common centerpiece that we relate to, but we're all here to try to continue that journey of health and wellness and improvement. And to me, that's the ultimate success and fulfillment that really anybody can get, is knowing that you physically are or mentally are a better person than you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever that may be. Just that journey is what I think we all strive for.
Absolutely, man. Talk to me about your relationship with the kettlebell. I mean, so many fitness entrepreneurs and people out there, they kind of have their niche within the niche. And, you're like, when I look at that kettlebell, it's the centerpiece of what I'm about to go attack. Why the kettlebell? And just talk to me about that relationship.
At the time when we started the company, to be frank, it was a business decision. I guess it overlapped, let's say. I was getting away, and my partner, one of my partners, actually, he went to Rice with me and played football as well. And then my other partner, he was a friend of a guy who we played with. So we all kind of came and were around sports growing up, but we had never really done any, let's say, workouts outside of athletic competition type workouts. And, it's a different pace and it's a different workload when you're training to be in the NFL versus training to have functional fitness and overall well-being in your life. So trying to make that transition for me was pretty hard. When I would go to a gym, I would just be annoyed with everyone in the gym, how people are using the weights, people talking too much. It really just was not something that I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. And so I really started getting into home workouts and my own kind of private, personal, one-on-one training sessions with myself. And I found the kettlebell during that journey, and I just kind of fell in love with it. Just the functionality of it and how it translates to functional day-to-day tasks versus, your static lifts that you would do at a gym or any type of machines that you would lift at a gym. You can get so much more from a kettlebell by just utilizing it in more fluid and dynamic movements that actually make your overall function better in your day-to-day life. So I think that's what really made me kind of fall in love with it. And the fact that I knew nothing about it was, an opportunity for me to learn and grow with a community of people who were also trying to learn about the kettlebell and grow. So
No doubt about that, man. The kettlebell community is like a rabid one too, right? I mean, my relationship with the kettlebell is I know I can give myself hell through a workout with one and just with one tool, which is what I love about it. For people listening right now, maybe, we're new into 2023, big goals. A lot of those goals for people rotate around health. Obviously, they want business growth and all that. Talk to me about how those are combined, kind of like your a healthy mindset, healthy body, and how that translates from your experience into business, into being an entrepreneur, and just into excellence.
Sure. I mean, I think everyone is different. So, obviously there are extremely overweight people who are extremely successful in life. But for me, I look at my personal health and fitness as a reflection of, the effort I want to put forth towards my goals a lot of the times. I compare myself, I shouldn't say I compare myself. I compare it to the difficulty of the task to tackle the day. So, I tell everyone, if you start your day with a good workout, it makes the rest of the day a lot easier. You're not exerting yourself nearly as much as you were in the morning when you had that extensive workout. I think, it sets the bar for the amount of effort that's going to be required to really move the needle. I think a lot of people think that employment level effort is the same as ownership effort, and it's a different level of responsibility, and it's a different level of discipline that it requires. So there's going to be days when you don't want to do it. You can't call in sick. There's going to be days where you want to get off and you don't get to get off. And having that foundation for me in athletics and in physical fitness really helps me mentally prepare for those situations and not, kind of embrace the suck and push through it.
Man, you just said something. I'm literally writing it down as you said it, man. I think that's the message that needs to be repeated. And I'd actually like you to expand on it. Employment level effort is different from ownership level effort. I think that's really interesting. You have to develop your mind as your business grows, man. When you hear that kind of back, when I say that back, employment level effort is different than ownership level effort. Man, I love that saying. Where'd that come from? And just talk to me about that. Like what are your thoughts when you hear that back?
I guess, I don't want to say it just came up with it, but it's one of those things where when you're employed, you get you get to put things down, you get to forget about it, you get to leave the ultimate responsibility of it with someone else. It's very similar to babysitting someone else's kid. You take this great of care as you can while you have it and while you're responsible for it, but when the kid goes home, you forget about it. And when you're the owner, or when you take ownership for anything, you almost really never forget about it. It becomes your kid. It becomes your responsibility throughout life. So when you wake up in the morning, you're making a conscious decision to either work on it or not work on it, but you always know that there's things that could be done. And I think that it's the same reflection with your health and fitness. If you're not in the place where you want to be with your health and wellness, when you're not working out, and right now you could go work out and you just don't, I think that's a reflection of, your priorities and the type of effort that you're willing to put forth. And everyone, I like I tell everyone, I don't think everyone should have a six pack. I don't think that's necessary in life for you to work so hard that your six pack's just completely ripped and that's how you live your life. But I do think you should do something and at least have an accurate assessment of your efforts versus what your outcomes will be. And in business, it's more competitive. It's harder to become a millionaire than it is to get a six pack. And I think accepting that and embracing that is a good thing early on.
That's an interesting perspective, man. I wonder how many people listening, I'm even asking myself that, it's harder to become a millionaire than get a six pack. I bet you some people listening right now are probably like, man, that I think it's easier to become a millionaire. But I think the philosophy is the same, right? Like, hey, put in the effort and follow a process. You're going to get the end result, and that end result's going to be a net positive. Might be a six pack, might be $1 million company, whatever. All right, this is interesting, man. So I'm curious. You're from an athletic background, D1 college football, man. How much of your athletic background and competitiveness and like a winning attitude has played a big part into your business? And how do you keep embodying that, man?
It's funny you asked that question because I really didn't necessarily even realize, and I probably would have given you a different answer before transitioning and selling the company versus where we are now. So when it comes to sports, I think everyone gets like, if the team doesn't win, it really doesn't matter, right? Like if we lose the game, like everyone hates the guy that like, I scored 50 points, but we still lost. Like no one cares if we still lose. And a lot of times it's very hard for big companies and employees to see whether you're winning or losing. And it's hard for them to even really care. And with our company, and especially smaller companies, I think that's where my athletic background is able to build a team that cares from the beginning and recognizes what a win is, accepts when we make losses, and want to do better so that we do win. We talked about my partners and I talked about the team we built at Kettlebell Kings. Is their personal reputations are ingrained in the company, and those are the types of employees that we want. The people that have the same passion for health and wellness, physical fitness, the product, the process. They'll do whatever it takes. The guy that will type on the computer and ship out kettlebells, like that's our guy. Like not necessarily someone who doesn't ever want to lift weights. It's kind of building that camaraderie around the product. And for me, it's very easy to do with health and fitness. And I'm sure it's easy to do with a lot of different companies where you have some type of passion for your service or for your particular niche. But when it comes to health and wellness, the overlap goes into almost every single category. So whether you're a CrossFit type guy or you're walker / runner, you can all kind of overlap with some type of strength training with the functional fitness side of it.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And you said something interesting there. Like you're looking for employees that have a passion around the product, right? And I encourage everyone listening right now, like ask yourself, do your employees not only have a passion for your business, but around like commercial cleaning? And that might sound weird, like commercial cleaning is not sexy and all that, but it's like, do you have a passion around helping keep buildings safe, well maintained? Do you have a passion around making sure that that property manager, when you walk in the door, doesn't have to worry about what happened last night when your janitorial crew is in there? And ultimately, do you have a passion for people? Because we're in such a people-driven business. So, like, are you building passion among your team around your product or service? I think that's an interesting concept that I've actually never kind of viewed it through that lens. So, Chad, here's a question for you, man. Someone's listening to this, they're like, all right, I'm bought in. I get that I need to get better habits in my life. I need to maybe pay more attention to my physical health, which will increase my happiness, my mental health. I'm lost. I'm a crazy business owner. I'm a parent. I don't know what to do. This is day one, maybe day zero for me. Where do I start?
The number one thing I probably tell people is don't do your own program. So don't try to program yourself. If you're not an expert, talk to an expert, follow someone else's plan, be comfortable with being uncomfortable with someone else's plan. Like that's how you should start at day one, really, with anything that you've never done before. Is, you should try to find some type of expert process that you can go through that process. And then once you've done that and you feel like you've mastered that, that's the point that you can start kind of tailoring things. So I would start with some type of beginner workout program. There's plenty of free ones on YouTube. We provide them through, our Kettlebell Kings YouTube account provides free programs. There's, $9 programs, $10 programs that you could purchase. But to me, I always recommend getting some type of program. Functional fitness is always a good way to start. You're not going to start looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger if you haven't really been working out. It's better to start with some type of program that builds a foundation for every basic functional movement that then you can, if you really want to build mass or, get super jacked, you can kind of build on top of a good base rather than going straight to static exercises and not really having good functionality or seeing those benefits.
Yeah, I think that's good advice there. Follow someone that's already created the path for you. Yeah. And then see what that does. And I guess my 2 cents there is too, just start. Just pick up something, move your body, do something. We talked a lot about physical health, man. I want to talk about mindset. Someone like you might be a baller, but you don't become a D1 athlete just because you're a baller. It takes a certain mindset. You don't get a company acquired just because you have a good company. It takes a certain type of mindset. What do you do, Chad, to kind of develop your mindset and keep growing the mental aspect of this game?
Honestly, whatever it takes, to be honest. I think that's the discipline side of it. we all go through things in life. Things happen to us. We have families. Things happen to them. Things happen that are out of our control. So I'm big on therapy if that's what's required. I've had therapists in my life that have helped me through, especially when I was first starting the business. There was some times where I was extremely broke and extremely stressed and not sure if this was the right direction. Building a good network of people around you that act as therapists, I think, is another good thing. So I'm fortunate to have, my father's in my life, and, I have a network of Rice graduates and alumni that I can reach out to and things like that. People that I've worked with in the past that I can continue to maintain focus and not lose sight of the big picture with the grind of what it takes on a day-to-day basis. So to me, preparing yourself for that difficult journey and knowing that the journey is supposed to be difficult, if it's not difficult, it's almost like you're not going in the right direction, is kind of the best way I like to look at it. It's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be hard, and you kind of have to enjoy it and just try to get through it as best you can.
Man, I'm telling you, you keep dropping these dimes that every now and then we get guests on the show and they're just saying exactly what I think needs to be heard, not only for me, but for the people listening and, talking about the journey. I think a lot of people view entrepreneurship as a destination, not a journey. And then also viewing that as, hey, that journey is going to be difficult. There's going to be the highs, there's going to be the wins, but to get to a winning state, you go through a lot of bullshit to get there. You go through a grind to get there. And so often we focus on the end result, like winning, whatever that means to you, and don't realize like what that actually takes to get to a winning state. So I think that's super well said, man. I'm curious. So what does Chad do? Someone like you, I can tell you're like a man of discipline. You've had the success, not just in business, but also athletics and life, it looks like. What do you do on your off day, man? We all have our bad days. We just have those days where we get rocked for whatever reason. Like you wake up on the wrong side of the bed type deal. Like how do you refocus, recenter, and what's Chad do on those off days?
I think it varies. I do meditate from time to time. I'm definitely not an expert at meditation. Sometimes I will meditate until I fall asleep, but I think it's being conscious of where you are. That's something that I learned in therapy as well. I'm notorious for not acknowledging my emotions, just trying to pretend like they don't exist. And I think there's a lot to be said with just having the self-awareness to understand what's going on inside of you, what triggers you, what's going to send you, into a more panic state, and then having the ability to relax yourself. So working out is another big one for me. Like if you haven't worked out that day and you're feeling super anxious or super overwhelmed, I promise you, if you work out, you'll feel better. Like I don't know a single person that works out and is like, man, I really wish I wouldn't have done that. It's really, really disappointing.
Doesn't happen.
Got through that workout, So it's like just having those little things and creating kind of little victories for yourself where you can. And I think, like I say, the biggest thing is the self-awareness. I try to be as self-aware as possible. I try to really bring that to the forefront, not just with myself, but with the company that I'm doing business with. One of my flaws probably is I try to be too self-aware and don't celebrate enough of the victories, because that's kind of my athletic background. When we would go watch film, we don't go watch the highlights. We go watch all the things we get wrong that day. And when we do that every single day is just like, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you did this wrong. And it's like, eventually you become numb to it. And that's just part of the process of getting better. So I actually enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, I think that's well said, man. I can tell you this too. The most successful people I know are self-aware. And then you do have to take time to celebrate those wins, but also realize that like winning's not loyal, right? You're like, if you win one day, doesn't mean that you're going to wake up and win tomorrow. So have that moment. That's why you always hear coaches say, right? Like, yeah, we'll celebrate this tonight. And then you move on.
You one night and we back to work. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm curious, man. I'm just for my own personal interest here. What position did you play, and did you ever try to make it to the league?
Yeah, I played strong safety, and I played a little bit after college. And I didn't make it to the league necessarily, but I played little arena in semi-pro, I guess. I was a part of the All-American Football League when it was coming out way back then, right before it collapsed. So that was kind of my signal that, you know what, I think I'm gonna go ahead and start my career and really focus on business.
Nice, man.
I always looked at the NFL or even my football career as, that this is this is the talent I have. So this allows me to, get a scholarship and build my network and really put myself in a position to springboard myself into my business career. So I just started a little earlier.
Nice, man. I think that's good. Just kind of utilizing that as a stepping stone along the way. We've had a few former pro athletes on here throughout the years, and it's always kind of never fails to amaze me how like so much of their athletic career, those traits and habits that they formed have now like transcended into their business and what that looks like. Also, too, man, all like the former college athletes at least are all the most like chill and mellow like yourself on this show. It's so funny, man. Uh, all just like, yep, I've been here before. Two last questions for you. So we're gonna keep one professional and one we kind of do a personal one that's a little bit more fun to wrap things up here. What's one piece of advice that you got to someone listening at this point in the show to like if they want to elevate their business tomorrow, or elevate their life tomorrow? Like if there's just like if you're talking to an entrepreneur that's either in the mud of it, maybe they're a new entrepreneur, or maybe they're a 10-year vet like yourself, but life's chaotic, man. Like what's one piece of advice you wanna speak to that entrepreneur to right now?
I mean, I guess it would depend. If it's your personal advice, I give you two pieces. If it's your personal advice, I would say if you don't have a health and wellness routine, get started health and wellness routine. You won't regret it. It's not something that people will try to say, "Oh, I don't have time." Literally 30 minutes 4 times a week. You can get it done in that amount of time. You do more than that, you get more results. But there's a psychological effect that it will have on you if you just start a health and wellness routine. It'll give you more confidence in general, which will translate into, more confidence and more stamina in your day-to-day life. If you're talking about from a business perspective, especially, as it pertains to the services and things like that, the internet runs the world. So I completely believe you don't necessarily have to have a retail space or a retail anything, a physical location to really have a multi-million-dollar business. That's how I built my business. So I would say, double down on your internet and your digital presence, really focus on making yourself as notable and as seen as engaging as possible online so that, you can bring in the largest funnel possible.
Man, so well said. We just had our content director on here earlier this week, and a lot of people view content marketing as a really good play for some industries, but then they say janitorial, and it's like, man, how can you translate it? It's like if you're listening to this, the companies that win in the janitorial space, they have a content marketing strategy. They have a personal brand from someone within the company attached to their company, and doing everything like so. We are a janitorial kind of sales brand, and our entire team is virtual, right? Like we've booked $1 million contracts virtually all online. So Chad just reinforced what a lot of our audience here is on a day-to-day basis, man. So I promise you guys, none of this, like this is Chad and I's first time ever actually speaking.
This was not a paid. I'm not a paid actor.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Actually, I said I had two last questions a question ago. Actually, I guess I now have two questions. Talk to me about what you're doing in the consulting realm, man, and how can people get in touch with you if they're like, man, I really like what Chad said. Talk to me about your consulting gig.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, like I said, I kind of specialize in direct consumer and online businesses. So, anyone that's really in the online space that's looking to grow their brand or struggling to build a community, struggling with capturing or let's say converting that community into some type of business. There's a lot of problems that people have today. So, people will get to a point where you have a lot of good content, you have a lot of following, but you don't really know how to turn that into a business and what products to sell, or how to set up a website and funnel those people into actual closing customers. So, I really kind of specialize in trying to set that up for people. But then I'm also, I'm working with, a larger company with the acquisition. So I'm managing several different kind of projects at once. And if you're looking for like project acquisition, like becoming acquired, or, you're a brand that's looking to test the market and see what your company's actually worth, I'll work with you on trying to make sure that you're getting the best offer and you're getting kind of relevant, let's say, data on all of your, I guess the main projects that I'm trying to take on right now are projects in the space of direct consumer consulting. But if there are acquisition projects that are kind of individually based, I would take those on as well.
Nice, man. I think that's huge. I think every company should build themselves to sell it, whether you do or not. That's a different story, but I think you always start with the end in mind. All right, man. What we do here, last question, man. I have two boxes here. I have a white box and a black box, random questions in it. I don't know what they are. As soon as we pull up the question, we toss that card in the trash. What box do you want to pull from, man?
Let's do the black box.
All right, man. I'm telling you, dude, 90, like my content director said, like 92% of the people pick the black box. So that card deck's running low now. All right. What would your best day ever be?
My best day ever. That's a good one. I've really been into skiing lately, so it would probably be, getting a good day skiing in the mountains and, hitting the hot tub and getting some delicious dinner after that. So yeah, probably something along those lines.
Yeah, man. Getting out there and getting outside and moving your body. Man, skiing's a hell of a workout. Like if anyone's listening, never done it, skiing will kick your ass.
Yeah. It's a good workout, and I like it because it clears my mind. It's one of those things where you're just kind of flowing through nature, flowing with the mountain. For me, it translates a lot to how life is. Like, you don't get to necessarily always choose what bumps and hills you have to deal with. You just have to kind of roll over them and go with it and enjoy the process on the way. So
that's a good analogy, man, for sure. Chad, I appreciate your time on the show, man. I know that everyone listening got some valuable insights. So happy 2023, brother. And thank you for joining us on the Profitable Cleaner.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.